Snow White, as within a review this may contain spoilers. Do you prefer cake or pie? The problem with Snow White is not Rachel Zegler's political views, Gal Gadot's overacting, or for some lack of acting, or the changes that were made from the animated version. The problem for me is the underlying story of Snow White. I don't particularly care for it. I don't find it compelling or interesting. That's not to say that everything is bad about the story. The live-action Snow White follows much of the same beats as the animated version. Snow White is a kind-hearted princess who loses both of her parents and is left living with her wicked and cold-hearted stepmother, the evil queen. A once thriving kingdom is now full of people who have lost hope and are struggling to get by under the rule of the evil queen. The princess is confined to the castle and is turned into a maid. The evil queen consults her magic mirror asking to name who is the fairest one of all, with the mirror always answering that the queen is. That is, until Snow White meets Jonathan, and this is where the story deviates from the animated version. Instead of the love interest being a prince, Jonathan is a cynical leader of a group of bandits. We first meet Jonathan trying to steal food from the castle. He gets caught and is sentenced to death by being tied to the gates of the castle. Snow White frees him and gives him food. Once again, the evil queen consults her magic mirror, and the response this time is that Snow White is now the fairest one of all. This enrages the evil queen and orders one of her huntsmen to take the princess into the forest and kill Snow White. Unwilling and unable to kill the princess, the huntsman lets Snow White go as she flees deep into the forest. As she wanders in the forest, she tumbles, and this leads her to the cabin where the 7 dwarves reside. They take her in and they form a friendship. Snow White and Jonathan meet again and they start to form a connection. The rest isn't too different from the animated version. The evil queen finds out that Snow White is still alive and tricks Snow White into eating the poison apple. Where it differs the most, besides Jonathan not being a prince, is the ending or how the evil queen gets defeated. This is something I'll talk more about in more detail a bit later, but it was something that I enjoyed. To give you an example of something I find to be done with the fundamental story of Snow White is when the evil queen is making the poison apple. She follows a recipe from a book that she has. Beside the recipe is the antidote, which is true love's kiss or whatever the actual phrase is. The love interest, or Jonathan, is captured by the evil queen's huntsman, so it begs the question, why not kill him on the spot? You're the evil queen, do your job. Earlier in the story, she was going to kill him for stealing food from the castle, but now she's going to lock him up instead? It makes no sense. Another example is how easy it was for the evil queen to find Snow White. Where the 7 dwarfs live is supposed to be a magical location that is hidden from the rest of the world around it. However, it takes the evil queen no time to find it. Prior to that scene, she sends her huntsman to find Snow White and they go searching all over the place. Again, make this make sense. One thing I did like that was the departure from the animated version is how Snow White defeats the evil queen. The following is in regard to the ending, which is spoiler territory, so you have been warned. As I mentioned earlier in the review, one thing I did like, which was not in the animated version, is how the evil queen gets defeated. Instead of the evil queen falling to her death after being trapped on a cliff by the 7 dwarves, it's Snow White who defeats the evil queen. Snow White confronts the evil queen at the castle in front of a crowd. The evil queen gives Snow White a chance to take back the kingdom by offering Snow White her dagger. All she has to do is kill the evil queen. Snow White refuses and the evil queen tells her guards to kill Snow White in front of everyone. As the guard approaches Snow White, she speaks to the guard's humanity. I'm paraphrasing here, but she says something to the effect of, "Robert, you were a farmer who grew cherries and you let the community come and pick the cherries off the tree. Stephen, you were a baker and took after your father who was also a baker. You never turned away anyone if they didn't have the money to pay you." This made the guards think about their decisions and how life was before the evil queen took control of the kingdom. This then prompted the guards to abandon their post. That exchange I liked, and I found it to be a clever way of defeating the evil queen. Other positives were Rachel Zegler, Andrew Burnap, who played Jonathan, and the 7 dwarves. I thought Rachel Zegler and Andrew Burnap did a pretty good job, and I did like their chemistry. One change I would have liked to have seen with the 7 dwarves is to give them a purpose for why they mine gemstones. They have a magical ability to know where to mine in order to collect those stones. Maybe have the gemstones be the power source of the kingdom, and because because of their magical abilities to find the gemstones, they have been put in charge of collecting and helping keep the kingdom running. Initially, the 7 dwarfs were to be played by human actors of various sizes, genders, and races, but that was changed and we got CGI characters that are more reminiscent of the 7 dwarfs from the animated version. I want to say that the actors who were to play the 7 dwarfs were moved into the role of the bandits. I think I would have still preferred human actors, but at least I didn't find the CGI to be wonky or distracting. Overall, the movie is fine at best, and it may be worth watching. If you stuck around this long, why not give the video a like, try it out, see if it works, subscribe, check out my other videos, leave a comment, let me know what you think of the film. See you in the next review.